God, that was loud.
Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanza. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the boy wonder to my Batman, Alessandro Bielsi.
Okay.
You'll take it? He'll take it.
I don't like being the sidekick, but...
I'm just older. so you get to be Robin.
Fair. That's fair.
Dibs.
Also, I request that at an undetermined time, you call me the Big Wrench.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm going to add it to the list.
I don't want it to be next episode, but maybe a few weeks.
We'll just pepper it in there like 4 or 5 episodes down the line.
Yeah. Like, kind of re-surprise me, because I'll definitely forget about that.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and let the listeners know why we're going to be calling you the Big Wrench?
Oh, that's right. They can't see what I'm doing.
No.
So we had some technical difficulties with my opener, namely that it wasn't going to open the beer. So I called an audible, and I found, a gigantic adjustable wrench. Like, this thing's a good 18 inches long, probably weighs 5 pounds. You could definitely commit heinous murders with this.
Heinous.
And that's what I used to open my beer. It's way, way unnecessary, but it got the job done. That's what matters.
Now, question. You have other beer openers.
Not.
You are a man of the beer.
Yes, but this is the only opener that I have on this floor. I have like 37 one floor up, and I didn't want to go upstairs. You know that this family enjoys alcohol, so...
That's why I'm wondering why you needed to go to a wrench.
Because it was on this floor. I didn't want to go upstairs.
So lazy.
I mean, we've already procrastinated 40 minutes getting this episode started, so...
Fair. Before we get into the beer that we're drinking, a little quick note here. This is one of our first episodes that we're going to the well for. We have there's nothing new that we really want to discuss right now. So we figured we'd go back to the list of our favorite movies, and I suggested this one to Al this past weekend, and that is we haven't recorded anything about The Dark Knight, which is definitely in my top 10, more likely in my top 3. Spoiler alert, might be my top movie, but
I don't know where exactly. It's not in my top 3. It's probably not in my top 5. It would be in the 10 to 15 range.
Fair, respectable.
But I love this movie.
So The Dark Knight will be our flick for this episode. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking, at Anthony's request, the Kona Big Wave Golden Ale from Hawaii. I had the pleasure of drinking a bunch of Konas. I don't think I drank this one when I was in Hawaii 6 months ago. So let's tell you a little bit about this beer and about this brewery. We have, on the bottle it says, year-round, the waves that roll onto Hawaiian beaches are some of the best in the world. Catch the crest of a breaking wave and ride it all the way in. Our sun-drenched Big Wave Golden Ale is a smooth brew, inspired by what makes Hawaii great. Catch a wave.
Catch a wave, indeed. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hang on, I can make that better.
There you go.
That was almost a shattering of the glass, just so you know. That could have been bad.
I'm glad you did not get glass in your beer.
No. You do what you gotta do, right? We're recording this again via Skype, but we're gonna make it work.
Put your beer in a glass. Don't put your glass in the beer.
Fair.
So I'm going to read you a little stuff that's on the box of six-pack, too, because I want to. So it says the Hawaiian Sweet Spot. They give you a fun little map of Hawaii, all its attendant islands. It says the waves in Hawaii are legendary. In the winter months, the island's north and west coasts see big waves that often climb to 40 feet, with huge curls of white water breaking just offshore. I saw some of those waves. They were gigantic.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that in person.
And also, there was gigantic sea turtles just floating on the waves.
What's up, dude?
Completely unperturbed. Like, you just see this gigantic wave, and you just see a turtle float up the wave and back down the...
awesome.
No issue. You don't see it frantically paddling around. Just floating around.
That's great.
This is just one reason why surfers, bodyboarders, paddlers, and those of us just willing to watch from the beach make this pilgrimage. There's no other place on Earth like Hawaii. The north shore of Oahu gets all the attention, as it should. but the waves at Makaha are just as sweet. This is the place where the first surf competition in Hawaii was held in 1954 and continues to attract world-class pros to ride the giants of winter surf. They have a little bit more about the beer specifically, too. Our brewers wanted to make a beer that went down easy after a day out on the water. Big Wave Golden Ale is just a ticket. Big Wave is a lighter-bodied golden ale with a tropical hop aroma and flavor. A smooth, easy-drinking, refreshing ale. The use of caramel malt contributes to the golden hue of this beer, and our special blend of hops provides a bright, quenching finish. Huh. Didn't quite stick the landing there.
He can read.
I can.
It checks out.
It's funny that they said there's caramel malt in there because this is very light in color, so it must be just a little hint of it.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
It's tasty. It's simple. It's delicious.
It's not quite like other golden ales I've had. There's usually more of I feel like there's usually more of like a yeast component. Like I think of Captain Lawrence Liquid Gold. Mm-hmm. That I really, really enjoy that beer. This is a little bit more tame, closer to like a cream ale, where it's like very basic and straightforward and well balanced.
Yeah, it's tasty. It's smooth. It's like smooth and subtle. I feel like that's how I would describe it.
And there is some of that kind of tropical fruit. I want to say it's like maybe passion fruit. Do you get that?
I can't say I do. I'm gonna now, having heard you say that, I'm gonna take another sip though, because that's usually what does it for me. There's
something like either maybe a passion fruit or a papaya or something like that.
Okay. It's guava.
Maybe it's guava. That could be it.
It's actually funny that I'm not even like being a dick and just like naming another thing there. There was a Rockstar energy drink that I used to love, and guava was the main flavor, and there's actually like a subtle taste of what that reminds me of in there. I don't know if that's actually.
You might be right. I'm not sure which of those fruits it is. I just know it's one of those like tropical fruits that I don't have that often. It could be guava.
It's official. Kona Brewing Company, Guava Wave. That's what we're drinking.
One other thing about Kona, I was told this by the locals out there. Kona is on the Big Island, I think. We were on Maui. But we were in Maui the rest of the time, and I drank a ton of Maui Brewing over there. We went to one of their like brew pubs and like had all like their seasonals and stuff like that you can't find in cans. Because I think Maui and Kona are the only ones that really you can find out over here.
Okay.
Maui is all in cans, but Kona is all in bottles. And they said that any of the but when you buy Kona in Hawaii, it's like mostly cans because they don't make any glass on any of the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, interesting.
Any glass you find out there has been shipped from the mainland. So they've actually split the Kona brewing between California and Hawaii. All the stuff made in Hawaii is like canned and is done there. Anything that's brewed that you find in a bottle was actually brewed in California because it's way too expensive to ship the glass to Hawaii, bottle it, and then ship it back.
Huh. Fun facts.
I think they said that they put a moratorium like way back on using the sand to make glass on the islands. They want to keep it for the beaches.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of cool. I never would have thought that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's fun little inside information. Thanks for going to Hawaii for that.
That is definitely not the reason I went.
That is it?
But I did think it was kind of a cool thing to learn.
You were researching for the show, and I will hear nothing else.
It was actually, it was before we recorded our first episode.
That's true. But we knew it was coming.
Oh, no, yeah. We'd been planning for a while at the time.
So, you approved this beer?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, this it's very easily drinkable. It's not too sweet. It's not too hoppy. It's well balanced. I enjoy it.
Nice, yeah.
Good for this type of weather. I mean, I'm sitting inside right now, but...
Nice little warm weather beer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for the hot weather, which, it being that it was brewed in Hawaii, you expect that it would be good for warm weather.
Shocker. Oh, man. All right, then without further ado, let's get into our flick.
Okay.
So
we should. The movie's been out for
I don't know, I'm going to preface this for you.
9 years.
We're going to spoil the hell out of this movie if you haven't seen it. Better yet, if you haven't seen it, stop listening and don't listen again. That's how I feel.
Let's not alienate our listener.
This movie is a masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that they did much wrong with it, right? Like,
you know what? I think what makes it a masterpiece is that it has its flaws, but it shines regardless.
There's really not that many flaws in this one.
One of the flaws had a name.
Like, you could probably pretty much count them with your fingers. Like,
yeah.
It is as close to a perfect movie as you will find. You know, I mean, like, there can't, like, you know, it's the human error element. There's not going to be a perfect movie, but this one stands up as being relatively flawless.
Well, okay, so let's start counting. Let's start counting the flaws up front. The first one that I'm going to point out, which comes around and becomes one of my favorite parts of this movie, is Richie Coster. He plays what's the guy's name? He plays Chechen in the movie. He's the guy who says, "My dogs are hungry." His overacting gets real bad, and then gets so fun to listen to.
Actually, do I know this guy?
Probably.
I'm looking at I just clicked on him. I'm looking at a picture of him, and I'm real. Is he on? He was on Billions, wasn't he? Yep.
I couldn't say I didn't watch the show.
Yeah, no, he was in the second season of Billions in a few episodes. I'd never realized that was him.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So now I will agree with you that he overacted because I didn't know that he was British, and I've heard him now with an American accent, and he had I am assuming what he thought passed for a Chechen accent in there.
Right.
I didn't think anything of it because I had no like baseline for who he was in real life.
Right. I don't know. Like it's one of those funny things where it pulls you out of the experience the first couple of lines that he has, and then you just can't wait for him to say something ridiculous next time he's on screen.
Well, that's the thing is because he kind of lays into that campy, over the top thing a little bit, and it's like one of the few people or things in that movie that is that way. So I actually don't hate it. I feel like it lightens the tone up a little bit.
Yeah. What is it? I want to hear what the clown has to say.
I want to hear what the clown says.
That and the look of defeat on his face when they burn the money.
Oh yeah,
he's just like, oh, completely conveyed in silence. So you know what? Like I said, though, that one comes around on you, so that's not really a flaw. So
I mean, I guess maybe you want to say that. Really, I mean, like off the top of my head, the only thing I can think of, and it was kind of one of the bullet point like type of things that I thought of going into this, because I realized not having seen the movie in its entirety like any time recently, one of the only things I can think of off the top of my head that I just don't like about the movie is Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel, or just Rachel period.
Yeah,
not that I loved her in Batman Begins as Katie Holmes, but I liked her better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually have here in my notes Maggie Gyllenhaal ... Why ?
It's funny that you should say that because I put definitely do not care for Rachel, sub-bullet, why Maggie?
That's great. See, this is why it's so good. Al and I started a new thing with this show where we don't share our notes with each other beforehand. We're so on the same page here.
At least the last few episodes. I'm sure when we go back to seeing one together, we'll probably share notes on that one.
Yeah, play a couple close to the chest.
Great line from that movie. The funny thing about that movie is, like, 3 months before it came out, I used that exact line, like, with one of my friends, and he thought it was hysterical. And then, like, we saw that movie, he's like, dude, do you remember when you said that?
They were spying on you.
I remember, like, it was, like, literally the same context, too. It was, like, I think we were like, we're going to, like, throw a party or something like that. Or we had something going on, and he's like, he asked me a question about it, and I said, you know, I'm playing my cards pretty close to the vest on this one. And he, like, remembered that, and I was like, holy shit, you're right.
That's great. The cast, really, though, it's just an all-star cast.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Bale, obviously, excellent in all of them. Michael Caine can do no wrong. Gary Oldman can also pretty much do no wrong in my mind.
And those are like your tried and true, and Morgan Freeman. It's like, I need a guy to really pull this role home for us. Kind of smooth voice. He's gonna explain things that people aren't gonna understand, but we want them to still listen. Who could we get to do that? And then you hire God.
Yeah, he is literally God. But I really like Aaron Eckhart. This is the first thing I ever saw him in.
Yeah, for me that was like more of like the newcomer, like, and he blows it away. Like, I mean, if Heath Ledger wasn't there to steal the show, Aaron Eckhart would have been.
Probably, yeah.
And he does a tremendous job of keeping up with him and being a peer during that movie, because like his performance is phenomenal, and he's like, his character development and his arc is just unreal.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and I never thought he did go over the top, even though they gave him some big scenes that he could have possibly run into that. I mean, I thought that the like rage and anguish when Rachel is about to die and when she does die, I thought that like he nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought some of the big scenes, he kind of towed the line of being over the top once he got some of his big scenes as Two-Face.
Yeah.
I don't think he crossed the line, but I think he kind of felt around. He got pretty close.
Fair.
Yeah, like something like that. Like even though it was a little bit more subtle, even the line when they're in the limo,
mm-hmm.
and when he's with what's his name, it was Eric Roberts or whatever. When he says whatever, I don't even remember exactly what he said, but the whole thing where he straps up the seatbelt and he shoots the driver, whatever the line he gives there was a little bit over the top. Or almost over the top, not quite, but
yeah,
it was more like a Schumacher.
It was lame. It was very lame. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the exact line either. It's like something like, "Oh, you were lucky. Him, not so much." Whew.
Yeah, it was a little bit campy. It was a little bit more like Batman Forever than it was Dark Knight.
Hey, leave Batman Forever out of this.
What? I like that movie.
Yeah, it's got a special place in my heart.
I mean, that was the first Batman that I really like remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that to me is the first Batman. I know you love the Burton ones. I have seen them, although I don't remember them that well. But I didn't like Batman Forever was the first one that I really saw. I liked that movie,
right?
Even though it's probably not great.
Oh, I have no shame. I love that movie. Batman Forever. It's great. I love Jim Carrey. I love, why can't I think of his name?
Tommy Lee Jones?
Tommy Lee Jones. Because it's a 3 name. I was trying to think of 2. That was the problem right there. I was trying to think of a first name, last name.
Tommy Jones or Tom Jones wouldn't work.
Yeah, nope. Tom Jones not in that movie.
Thomas Jones, Two-Face.
Oh, man.
Or ex-running back for the New York Jets.
But, so, as we mentioned, so Aaron Eckhart's, his whole performance throughout that movie is just fantastic, and he plays so many different roles throughout the movie as he evolves, and like from like a great scene early on when the guy that he's interrogating on the bench pulls the gun on him and like click, like he was ready to shoot him, kill him dead, and he takes the gun and punches him in the face.
See, that was another one where I was like, it almost threatened to go over the top, but also I love it.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I was fine with it was ballsy as hell. He just grabs the gun and decks him in the face. But then the line that he says, you should have bought American or something like that, that threatened to be a little too much.
And then it goes a step further, and he's like, putting the witness in holding or something like that, and he goes, but I'm not done questioning him yet.
No, that was funny. That was genuine and funny.
That was great.
The one about buying American was almost as bad as the Dark Knight Rises when she disappears, and he goes, "Oh, that's what it's like."
Oh yeah, yes. I was. But the counter to that, because that's a callback to in this movie. When he's like, how are you going to get him back into the country? He does that. That was great. That was hilarious to me. And like
no, it was funny coming from Gary Oldman like that because like that's like aware but still within like the conceit of what they're doing.
Right.
The one in The Dark Knight Rises is more like self-aware, but trying so hard to show you it's being self-aware.
Right. That's so true. But oh man, he's so phenomenal. Like a couple of the scenes. So like you said, the one where he's there's one great scene. This is all voice acting. Is when the camera is on Rachel, and Batman goes into the warehouse where he is.
Yeah.
And like you really feel it. He really sells that home. He's like why are you here? Like that whole it's like it's heart-wrenching.
Oh yeah, no, that was what I was saying at the beginning of this before we kind of got into more of his dalliances and like campiness. That was like one of his really big scenes, and I thought he knocked that right out of the park.
Oh yeah,
I'm total agreement with you on that.
Mm-hmm. And then the scene where he pulls the bandages off of his face in the hospital in silence. It's like they do that drowned out. The sound is there, but it's super, super low. And this is something that Christopher Nolan does a lot. But when I say a lot, I mean like you'll see it probably once or twice in all of his movies, I feel like. But he uses it at just the right moment to really kind of captivate and like evoke emotion from you. But like the sound goes down and it's there and it's subtle and it's in the background. You hear like maybe like the low beep of some machines in the background, but it's really the swell of the music at that point, or the tones, because it's not really music. And he's like freaking out in the bed and he's ripping off the gauze that are on his face. And I was like, oh. That scene is just woo.
Well, see, that's the thing is I didn't really think much of the couple of scenes, other than the scene on the rooftop. I didn't think that much of the scenes between Aaron Eckhart and Gary Oldman were like that great. But the scene when he comes to see him in the hospital, the way that like the tension and the energy is like so charged between the two of them.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And but like. So that's like him. That's when he's lost it. We've jumped around with him a few times already, but so like he starts off in the beginning and he's like this like go get him DA guy, right? And then like you see him like the more like personal relationship that he has with Rachel and how he can be timid and how he's like he does not fit in with this rich crowd and like the money throwing around portion of politics. He fits in with the justice side of politics and like how uncomfortable he is around Bruce and, as they put it, the trust fund brigade.
Yeah.
And then he goes into like his entire everything is just turned upside down, and he owns it the whole way through. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I cannot stress enough how good that he pulls this off.
And it's funny because like he's really not like, you kind of almost have dual leads in this movie between the Batman and the Joker, which the best representations of the Joker are when the two of them are nearly equal.
Yeah.
And how much attention we're shown of them. But he sneakily almost has as an important arc, or I mean, well, he has the most growth for sure over the course of the movie, starting as the White Knight that they keep talking about.
Right.
White Knight versus the Dark Knight. And watching his dial switch towards where he's now morally gray. He no longer, he's got some stains on his white armor, right?
Right.
When he's gonna kill the guy who's crazy to get information out of him. You know what I mean? The fact that he pulls the whole stunt getting into the back of the truck, all that sort of stuff. It's all within the whole determination thing that he showed us the whole time. But it seemed like there was lines he definitely wasn't willing to cross, and now he's crossing them. And then he goes full-fledged fallen angel after all of that, right?
Mm-hmm. I like that he didn't try to like continue the character or somehow keep him alive or do anything else with that after the fact, like for the next movie or anything like that. I like that the character had a beginning, middle, and end, and it all happened in the course of this movie where so much more was going on, but nobody felt like they had too little time on screen.
And it all followed a logical progression, right? Where you didn't get, well, why is he doing this? It's just like a complete 180. Like each time the dial was readjusted on like his character, you could see why it happened, how it happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? I liked that, it was almost like the way you write an essay where it's like, you stake this claim and that there's something there that supports it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like he turns into this monster at the end, and you're like, "This sucks," but I mean, the writing is there on the wall. You know, you killed Rachel.
Yeah. I mean, you could always have an issue with, you know, the fact that the Joker could get to him, right? That you know, he could tweak him and he's going to set him off on that path. You can understand why he would become so brutally bitter and frustrated. I can understand why you may question, you know, well, how is he going to go and try and kill, you know, Batman, or why is he going to go and try and kill Commissioner Gordon?
Because he was the best of us.
Harvey dead. Can we trust him?
If you have not seen Badman, Pete Holmes' Batman impersonation, you need to
watch all the videos.
Go look that up and watch it, and then watch it again, because it is so good.
Oh my god, yeah! Like, I've watched 5 or 6 of them, and I can't get anything past that. But no, going back to actually, yeah, I mean, you get, even though it's like, you know, it can seem like kind of a tough leap, the whole idea of you trusted those cops and they betrayed us, so fuck you. Like, even that stands and holds water. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, poor Two-Face. So a better end there.
In Harvey Face and Scary Face.
Harvey Face. Quick, Harvey, use that gun when Scary Face shows himself again.
All right. What do you see here? Scary Face. What do you see now? Harvey Face. All right, now put them together. What do you see? Two-Face. Which two? Scary Face and Harvey Face.
We will put links to these videos in the post for this episode, and you must absolutely watch them. They're fantastic.
That line always gets to me.
Yeah.
Two-Face, what did you do with Scary Face and Harvey Face?
Oh my god, it's so good. Now, back to the tried and true actors. Obviously, we had mentioned Michael Caine, who he's another, like, what a great supporting actor in this movie.
Yes.
Right? He's not on screen often, but when he is entirely captivating. As usual.
I think this one was probably his best of the three too, right? I think that he had like some of the most weighty lines, like the scene when he explains about the guy in Burma that they were hunting down.
Such a good line.
Right? Like that whole scene, you know, and to caps it off with that fucking like an anvil dropping with each syllable. Some men just want to see the world burn.
Yeah.
It's like, just freaking nailed it.
It's just like, and it's one of those things that's like, it's quotable, and it'll always be quotable, and it'll always be from this movie.
Yes.
It's so good. I love it.
No, 100%.
And I love, he's also so, like, his relationship with Bruce Wayne is like, you don't get a lot of them together, but when you do, you totally understand like how much he cares for him.
Oh yeah,
right, and like how much he knows about him, and like they're so playful back and forth with their dialogue, which is great. And one of the things being like, I hope you don't have me followed when I take a vacation. And he's like, if you ever did, I would. that's one. And two, what I was just gonna tell him the whole thing was your idea.
I was thinking, I always enjoyed when they find out that the Joker is going to try and kill that guy who, I don't remember his name, the guy who worked for the company who was going to expose that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Yeah. Well,
and he says, what are you going to, he goes, well, how are you going to get there? You're going to take the Batmobile is going to be a little bit too ostentatious. Ah, yes, the Lamborghini then, much more subtle.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. Oh my god, it's so great. But
and on the same topic with that Weasley guy, Morgan Freeman has that other great line too, when he brings him the evidence. Like, did you think we weren't going to notice our own machine? And he goes, "So what you're telling me is, your billionaire employer, you think that he runs around beating up criminals at nighttime in his spare time, and you want to blackmail this guy?"
Good luck.
Good luck.
It's excellent. Yeah, I love the playful dialogue in the movie, and it's like I feel like that kind of is how they captivate the comic book feel to it. Like the lightheartedness is there, like the joking, unrealistic portions of it are there, and it's through this type of dialogue. But the rest of the movie itself is obviously very serious and very dark. But like there's still some of that, and it just really drives it home. It just makes it so much more enjoyable. And another Morgan.
It's perfectly like paced out too.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah. It's never
there's
overdone.
a little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there. You know, for the first 2/3 of the movie, obviously it goes full darkness at the end, and it's got it.
Right. Yeah. But like another one of those with Morgan Freeman though is when he needs something from him, and he's like basically explaining to him what he needs. It's like jumping out of an airplane. He's like, I thought you were gonna have something more, challenging than this. This is pretty like standard or simple for like one of your requests. And then like after he explains the whole thing, he goes, and how about getting back into the plane? And he goes, I suggest a good travel agent. And he goes, while it's in the air. Now we're talking.
That's funny because I was thinking of like the scene that comes right after that too. Because like I don't remember if it's Alfred or if it's Lucius that says to him something about you have to act more like the billionaire playboy that you are. Mm-hmm. And he hires away the whole Russian ballerina troupe.
Yep.
And he goes on vacation with all of them.
Great scene.
But then, and it's funny, you see them go to see the play too, because part of it was a fuck you to Harvey, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
But the the scene when he's on the boat with all the Russian ballerinas and they're all playing around and Alfred's there, and he goes, and you could apply your own bloody suntan lotion. He's got that crusty old man thing, but it's still like you're cracking up.
Yeah. All of actually on that topic, all of Bruce Wayne's like I'm a douchebag billionaire scenes are really great in this movie. Like the one where they go to the restaurant and he's like, Rachel, fancy that, right? And he's like, let's have them pull some tables together. And he's like, I don't think they will. I think they'll let us. I own the place. Like, and it's like he's such a douchebag. I love it. And then
because it's the same restaurant from the first movie, right? That he buys it there.
Yeah, when he's swimming in the like the fountain outside.
It was like the koi pond.
Yeah.
And the two girls they're swimming in there. They're basically like about to have a threesome in the koi pond in the front of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And he just like writes a check and he goes, no, you can't just. He goes, no, I can. I'm buying this restaurant.
Right. So douchey. There's that. There's the scene where he walks into the party at his mansion, and he like helicopters in, and he's got 3 girls walking with him with his arms around them, and then he's like where like clearly looks right, like they position the scene so like the camera is basically at the angle where Harvey Dent is. So, like, you're in that scene, when you're watching it, you're in his position. And he clearly looks at you and goes, like, where is Harvey? And he looks away and he looks back, and it's, like, just a total, like, everything around here is not important.
Yeah.
And it plays so well. And then another scene, when he drives the Lamborghini and he cuts off the truck that's going to ram into, was it Reed or Reese or something like that, the guy that was going to out him. Reese. But he jumps in front of it, obviously, like with the intention to stop it. And Commissioner Gordon's like, that's a really brave thing you did there. And he goes, what, trying to beat the light? And do you think I should go to a hospital? You don't watch a lot of news, do you?
It's funny because like you can tell he totally doesn't buy it, and like there's even that like. There's no way, right? Mm-hmm. Like that can't be him, is it?
Yeah, it's great. But then in that scene though, in this like goofiness, like where he's pulling this off, that subtle nod that he gives to the guy as he's coming out of the car, like they're taking him out, like and keeping him in safety. He just like kind of looks over to him and just gives him the slightest like, boop. Like, yeah, it just saved your life. Let's ease up on it, all right?
Yeah, it's that whole I know, you know, I know you know, and you know that I know that you know.
Right. All in a split second.
Yeah.
All in the blink of an eye. It's so great. What did you think about the use of Cillian Murphy?
I kind of liked that he was also like a through line through all three movies.
Yeah.
And also further burnishing his Christopher Nolan resume.
Right.
Padding out his stats, as it were.
I gotta say, I don't fully get it, though.
I don't know. I mean...
What I don't get is why he's on the street.
Why he's what?
Why he's still on the streets.
Well, because he had escaped at the end of Batman Begins.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like by now, you know...
Well, no, because remember, he hit him with the... He hit him with his own gas. He goes, "How about a taste of your own medicine, doctor?" Which, again, threatening to be overly campy and Burton Schumacher-esque.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I guess not a lot of time has passed either, right?
No, because remember, he gives him the card at the end, the Joker card. So it's only been a few months.
Yeah, I love that.
And he's clearly living in, like, back alleys and this and that, right?
That's true.
And he's got money because he's been funded by, well, you know, his own bullshit practice that he's been doing, plus all the money that he was getting from the League of Shadows.
The League of Shadows?
See, you could have probably not bothered having him in the Dark Knight, but I didn't find it offensive because it was a good jumping off point, right? Because that's totally the type of thing that would draw him in.
Do you think they would have preferred to have Heath Ledger's Joker as that character?
In Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I did kind of like that it was the kangaroo court run by him. And see, if they didn't have him at all in The Dark Knight, but then had him for that, I think it still works.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't mind that he's this kind of little thread that helps tie it all together.
No, it's cool. It's subtle, and I like it. And he's just there. He just gets his nod like throughout the rest of it. And like you're saying, he does tie it together like in that little through line. It's just funny, like the way that is shot in that. I mean, I know we're talking Dark Knight, but in The Dark Knight Rises, the way that scene is shot, where he's like on top of like this what looks like a mountain of books. I don't even remember how it was.
Yeah, I think it was like books and desks and chairs stacked up.
But it's like that is so clear. Like to me, like that is just like straight up a Joker scene. Like he would be the one at the top of that.
Yeah, you know, looking at it now, the way that the trilogy stands, it's hard to see how they would have really included the Joker, even though I know he said that was his intention, but I think that just having him as a cameo doesn't really work.
Right. Well, I mean,
having him be the main villain again doesn't necessarily work either.
Right.
I think that's where you risk getting tired. But see, that's the thing I don't get. Because people complain about the Marvel Universe. I know we're getting slightly off topic, but I think it's kind of important to this. People complain that they don't bring villains back in the Marvel Universe, that it's always one and done for all their villains. But it risks becoming a cut and paste comic book story if you have the same villain. Like, you can't keep doing it because it just becomes the same movie again. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. What if, I don't know how they originally wanted to do a third film before The Dark Knight Rises ended up becoming what it was, but what if I would love a movie where the Joker is like this Hannibal Lecter character. Like maybe we get to see what Arkham is like, and he's got this hold over him.
That might work, but then he basically just becomes Loki anyway. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is the only Marvel character, the only Marvel villain we bring back. The only reason that is anywhere worth bringing back. I mean, it's different because the Nolan thing is its own standalone trilogy. They could have done it if they were doing the expanded universe, right? Because that's why Loki works, is you think he's gone, he comes back, and he has a way bigger, way different plot, right? First it's daddy issues, and then it's fuck everyone, I'm just taking over.
Right.
And then he comes back again, and we can still do that because he's now the enemy of my enemy type of deal.
Right.
So you could have done that, like you said, have him you console with him as Hannibal type of character, but I just feel like you're going to be left wanting more too much, that it almost brings it down because it's that untapped potential. Sure. But if you just try and go full bore and have him be that main enemy again, you risk, like, what is he going to do to outdo the total anarchy thing?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I mean, I feel like they probably could have pulled that off with, like, it didn't have to be a large part of the movie.
It would have to be literally one sequence because any more, and he's going to chew up the scenery and take it over.
For sure. But I think they could have done it. And I mean, it sucks that he died and we couldn't see where they wanted to go with it. But it would have been interesting. I'm curious. I am very curious of what the third movie would have been had he been around. Because
see, I think you have to do that thing, the Hannibal thing, or if you want to even say something that's more recent and finds a way to include something in a property that you wouldn't necessarily think. If you could treat him kind of like Darth Vader in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Like, otherwise, I think he risks taking it over.
Yeah, for sure.
And then it becomes not The Dark Knight Rises. It's The Dark Knight.
You kind of you figure out where that balance is, though, right? I mean, it's a bell curve. How much can we use him where it's efficient, and then it doesn't become too much? And I feel like I don't know. I think Christopher Nolan would figure that out with no problem.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true. I mean, he hasn't really given anyone cause to not believe in him, right?
Right.
So that's probably true as well. And you're right. Like, we were robbed of getting to see more of that awesome performance. I just worry that it's like too much of a good thing eventually.
Sure. Oh, and it's very possible. We've beaten around the bush enough here, and it's time to get into the Joker himself.
Okay.
And that was like, I wanted to give everybody give everybody a mention before we got there, because he just obviously he steals the show, and it's from the minute that you know it's him from the opening scene. Before he puts the mask on, you don't see him, but the character and the way that movie is shot has such pull towards the Joker that in that opening scene when he's standing on the sidewalk and it's the back of him, and obviously the color of the suit kind of gives it away a little bit, but like he's got that mask holding down, and like the way the music swells, or like it doesn't even really swell. It's just like kind of a tone that just is consistent through that line, which is really friggin' eerie and creepy.
Yes.
But it just
gives you that skin crawling feeling.
Oh, the whole like what, opening 10, 15 minutes? It's just like, ugh, but it's great. Yeah. And like that like heist movie opener is phenomenal.
Yes.
And that like sets the tone for the entire movie. Like you are 100% invested from the time that the school buses drive away.
Also,
like it's
great cameo, William Fichtner.
Yeah.
As the bank manager.
Yep. That was awesome. Hey, where did you learn to count? That guy shot him. Amazing.
See, it's funny because the very first time I watched it, though, I actually didn't really realize who it was until William Fichtner comes out with the shotgun and starts shooting at him. And the one guy yells at him, and then he doesn't say anything back. That's when I was like, oh, that's him.
Yeah. I just knew from like a little bit from the trailers and stuff, but just like that, the way that is shot, that they're introing this character right now with the mask down. And he's just like, this guy is in the middle of the street with a giant bag and a clown mask, and he doesn't give a fuck. So this is the Joker. I can't wait.
Well, but they show you a whole bunch of clowns, so, and you're not supposed to know. It's like a shell game, right?
Yeah. It was pretty apparent, I feel like, to me, but I love it though. I love every second of it. I love how we're like, and it also sets it up for exactly how he's going to operate throughout the movie. Like, he has them all kill each other.
Oh yeah,
and it's hilarious. It's terrible.
Yeah,
but it's hilarious, and he's just like he is psychotic, and it's great, and he pulls it off so well up to that point where he pulls that mask off and he says, "Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger." Like, it's just like, and you get that first full frame shot of the Joker's face when he like whips his hair back and he says "stranger," like, and it's just it is just perfection. Like that, it is unreal, and that scene will always be one of my favorite scenes in movies.
Actually, even his line before he takes the mask off, is great. And I'm guessing you were supposed to kill me.
No. I killed the driver.
I got the bus driver. What bus driver?
Thud. Oh, those guys are not getting up. Dead. I was like, oh my god, this movie is out of control. And we're like 10 minutes in. This is not ridiculous.
It's like 6.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then, but and from that moment on, you're like, when he's then off the screen, and you're like, when's he coming back? I need more.
And that's right. I guess you really don't see him for quite some time again, right?
And then and then when he comes back, I believe the next time he comes back is the scene where he walks into the meeting.
Yes.
Right? Which, again, you're like, these are all bad guys that are in there, but you're on the edge of your seat because you just don't know what's going to happen. And it's so good. And they pull it off so well.
The crazy thing is, like, they're all itching to kill him, and you don't want them to.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Like, 100%. How fucked up is that? Like, that thought crosses your head. Like, wait, they're not going to kill him, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, we get more?
Let's keep him around. And I love that.
That's after we watch him put a pencil through someone's eye?
Mm-hmm. That's so crazy. It's so crazy. The whole thing, it's like the writing concerns me. Like, how did you, this is bizarre.
Let's not blow things out of proportion.
Yeah. Was it Gamble? Is it? He's gonna find him and he's gonna make him squeal. I love it. But the other thing, another great part of that scene where he's in that room with all of them is they get to him for a split second. You know, when he's like, he says he's crazy, and he kind of
not crazy.
Yeah, he's just like a little switch goes off, and he gets real pissed, and then he spits out his message because I think he's annoyed at this point, and it's just he's so unsettling, but in the best way possible that I just want more.
And he even has that one like FU line back to him too. Get this clown out of here in this cheap suit. It's not cheap. You ought to know. You paid for it. You ought
to know. You bought it. It's so good. Oh, man.
It's funny you said that thing about like them actually getting to him, because I do think you're right that you're onto something there with that. And I didn't like. I guess in the back of my mind, I guess I kind of always thought it, but it never really fully coalesced into a full idea in my mind that he most likely was a soldier who had PTSD in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Because you saw that like the one guy that they interrogate, that what's his name threatens to kill, was also a soldier, I think, who had PTSD.
Yes.
I think that definitely, even though it wasn't, I don't think it was ever really confirmed outside of the movie.
It wasn't.
You never find out who he actually is.
Yeah.
Somehow he defies all attempts to classify who he is, even after they've caught him. I mean, I'm sure they eventually figured it out, but
right.
Not within the confines of the movie. But I think that there's something real to that, where it's like he knows something's off, but he doesn't like you calling him on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in his mind, the idea of being crazy sounds like it's like means that he's out of control, and he feels that he's in control.
Right.
Because that's kind of his whole thing all the time, right? Is that, even though he says, do I look like a guy with a plan?
Yeah.
He seems pretty fucking good at plans.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I think there's some credibility to that theory. It's been going around and like that for a while, and I get it. I think that's possible. I think it's fun to like kind of speculate it, but it's also like it doesn't matter at all. This guy is just
probably not, but it does, I guess, provide a certain bit of context. This character has existed, right, for 60 years or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But within the context of a movie taking place in the late 2000s.
Right. It was just such an excellent take on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's just so well done. And to cap that scene off, when he's like, you think you could just take our money and walk out of here?
Yeah.
I love it. It's so subtle.
Well, it's funny because you can see how much Gamble hates him, and you can see that the Chechen is intrigued by him.
Yep.
I don't think he likes him. I think, like they said, they're all scared of him, but I think he is intrigued by the potential that he shows.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry. I just thought about the last part of that too. When you're ready to talk, here's my card.
And he just leaves the Joker
and it's
card?
Just a Joker card. It's just, it's perfect.
He has so many great, stupid little lines like that. Even like, and we're gonna have to get into more Pete Holmes here. The scene when he interrogates him in the police station.
Oh yeah.
And he just smashes his head. Ow.
Yeah. Never start with the head. It makes the victim all fuzzy.
Yeah. Oh, you never start with the head, which reminds me of fucking Pete Holmes when he punches him in the hand. Who punches a hand?
Who punches a hand?
I'm sorry I offended you.
I broke
Giant
your one
bat.
rule. Giant bat. Oh my god, that's probably. I think that was the one that the first one that I saw was that interrogation scene one. It came out a while back, and
I think that's the best one.
It is.
It's the shortest one too.
It's excellent. Yeah. Wiggles the clown, I think, is who he's interrogating. And
I just had a couple of drinks at the birthday party.
But I love that he's beating him up. He's just punching him, and he punches him in the face. And Commissioner Gordon runs in the room, and he goes, "Stop punching! It's not him." And he pauses. And he punches him again. And he goes, yes. Stop! 2 clowns? Yes, there's 2 clowns.
It's not him.
Part of me knew that.
I think
but I just kind of owned it.
I'm going to be honest. Part of me knew that.
It's so good. I love it. Oh, my God. But what do you think? So I also love how he goes into his stories about, how he got his scars. And obviously you never find out how he got his scars. But it's just like, it's just so twisted that he uses it in such a way.
It is weird, because it could be a crutch, right? That is like, look at how fucked up my face is. That's why I'm fucked up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think for the longest time, everyone's tried to figure out, well, it's got to be one of the stories he tells, right?
Does it have to be?
I don't think it necessarily does, and
right.
I think it actually even further lends credence to the thing of him being a survivor of one of the wars in the Middle East. It had to have been something that happened over there, right?
Maybe.
You would think, if he was in combat and he saw something of sufficient disturbance to him that would cause him to snap, you imagine that it might be an IED blows up and kills his whole squad and leaves him scarred. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Could be. Could be anything.
It could be. I'm just saying that, if that's a theory you subscribe to, I think that would lay
I'm
serious water.
I'm sure if you were trying to go after that theory, that's probably where you would land with the scars and stuff. I just think it's fun. It's interesting because it's it could be anything. And I'm sure, I really want to believe that 2 things. One, that Christopher and Jonathan Nolan, I want to believe that they know why. That they had a story in their minds that, they built this whole thing around. Because and I imagine that they did, and they maybe shared it with very few people, if they shared it at all. Because otherwise, I don't think that this movie is as good as it gets. I don't think they would have been able to pull this off if they didn't have such a strong idea for this character and where he comes from. I don't think they had to necessarily share it, but they would know whether or not a scene would work if they're following a storyline that they're not sharing with you.
Up until I started to give more weight to the thing about him being a soldier, I always was of the impression that it was the father doing it to him.
Mm-hmm.
That one seemed to be the most vivid to him. He seems to be most on the edge when that's happening.
Right.
He seems to be... There's the most detail to that story.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one's detailed too.
It is. It's just, it happens a little bit quicker. It's a little bit shorter story.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. It's just creepy. It's a whole creepy concept of these scars on his face and there's a whole story there, and I love that it's there and we don't know what it is. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that it's shrouded in mystery is just fantastic.
I would agree with you. I don't actually necessarily... I think one of those things where it's open to your interpretation makes it better, but I do agree with you that I think that it probably... The 2 of them have to probably know.
Right.
To so nail down the details of this character.
Right.
That there has to be a starting point for that. But it's one of those things where I hope they don't, at the 20-year anniversary, say, oh, yep, it was definitely that.
Right. Yeah, I don't want them to ever reveal it.
But I do agree that I think that they should know it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now I'm just pondering.
Well, it's funny. So one of the things that I put down here, and I don't know if we might talk about this for 2 minutes or 20 minutes. I don't know. It probably won't be 20 minutes, but we kind of touched on it a little bit, talking about the scene when he's interrogating him, breaking the one rule or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever seen a character in any sort of media weaponize Batman's morality. You know what I mean? I mean, you always hear like there was Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn has the line in Spider-Man, right? You know, the sadistic choice. You know, usually say suffer the little children, right, or let go of the woman you love, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's always that, like, kind of the duality of choice, and usually we usually see him somehow succeed and get both of them, right? You see him grab Mary Jane and grab the kids as well.
Yeah.
It's so rare to see that actually come to fruition, where you have to make the choice, mm-hmm, or you have to break the one rule.
Right.
And we see him succeed in not breaking the one rule until it comes to Harvey, right? He doesn't kill the Joker, despite the Joker literally pushing him to the edge, saying, like, you know, that's the one thing you're going to have to do.
Right.
As opposed to when he has to make the choice, they don't succeed, and Harvey lives and Rachel dies. Mm-hmm. Right? Because when you're watching that movie, you're like, oh, Commissioner Gordon's going to save Harvey, or maybe he'll be there just slightly late, and that'll fuck up his face, and maybe it'll make him go nuts or whatever, and he'll save Rachel, but they probably won't end up together because it's Batman and this and that. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
The Joker fucked with you because he knows you, and you keep underestimating him, and nope, you're going to go save the dude, and you're not going to make it to her, and he hopes that you're not going to make it to her, and she's going to die.
You know, on top of that, what's crazy is, and awesome, and totally is all about this character that they built up, is if they dilly-dallied at all, or if they didn't go to interrogate them, both of them die.
Yes.
Like, that's... He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's just doing things, as he puts it, basically.
Well, see, and that's one of the places, actually, I think that it doesn't necessarily ring true, because he says, you know, I'm going to let you save them, I'm going to, you know, this and that. But he played that pretty close, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, if that conversation goes on for 30 seconds longer, they both die.
Yeah.
There's no way his internal clock is that good.
Right. Yeah,
but I think that also, like, that there needed to be a real chance of him succeeding there. Hell, even it may have even been better for the Joker if both of them do succeed.
Right. He doesn't. That's the thing, though. He doesn't care what the outcome is. He just wants to create these scenarios and see what happens, and it excites him.
Like, I guess that's true, because I think he was expecting to break Batman, and he doesn't. He breaks Harvey.
Right.
I don't think he could have saw that coming.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, it had a crazy side effect, and he loves it so much in that scene where he's the nurse, and when he's the nurse, and he goes to talk to him, and he like gives him the gun, and he's real excited because he thinks that he pulled off something great. He's just like, he wants him to shoot him, and he doesn't do it. He's gonna flip a coin, and that excites him even more, and it's great.
Well, I think the coin angle excites him because it's the anarchy of a 50-50 choice. Mm-hmm. You know, that's kind of totally in line with his whole thing, is just fuck convention, you know, we're gonna do it live, you know. But right. Yeah. I think he knows, though, in that scene. I think he knows he's not pulling the trigger. Because I think it's to that situation where I think he sees, as he starts talking to him, that he's got a glimmer of, I don't want to say hope per se in Harvey's eye, but like a glimmer of purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think he knows, kind of like the way that like a heroin dealer knows that he's got you hooked.
Right.
So I think he always knows you're not going to pull the trigger in that situation, because you're waiting to see what I have to offer you next.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
But even before the nurse scene, which is funny, we get to see him like waddling in nurse attire, stuff like that. It's the scene when he kidnaps Lau and they're fleeing after he blows up the precinct.
Mm-hmm.
When he sticks his head out the window.
Oh yeah.
And he has like a nearly orgasmic face. As like, like, yes,
yeah.
Everything just came together. It's like the weird, creepy side of like, what's his name from the A-Team. I love it when a good plan comes together.
Yeah. I love in that whole scenario where he goes to get to take the mask off Batman and it shocks him.
Oh yeah.
And they stop him and he goes, "Come on, just let me give him one more second."
Yes.
It's so funny.
I also love that even he gets the shit electrocuted out of him and that sets him off. Like he enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like as if, ooh, I actually didn't see that coming. Good on you, man.
Yeah. I don't fully understand the faking of Commissioner Gordon's death, though.
Because they didn't know who they could trust.
Okay, I guess
that was before Harvey was. That was before Harvey and Rachel were kidnapped.
That makes sense.
So they didn't know who they could trust. So the whole point was to put Commissioner Gordon in there to drive because they knew that he had nerves of steel and they knew he wasn't going to betray him.
Right. That makes perfect sense. That's another great scene when he goes home and she slaps him. She opens the door and she slaps him in the face and then hugs him immediately.
Nah, that was fucked up.
That was a rough scene.
And kind of surprising that they carried through. Well, especially like bookended when I guess it was really because Batman obviously was in on it, right? Mm-hmm. But he sells Gordon's death by being there, even though no one's watching other than the wife. So really, the worst of what he's doing is fucking with her, right?
Right.
Well, she snaps and she's screaming at him.
Those cops are there too.
I guess that's true.
That's probably why.
Yeah, I guess. Did she have a detail there?
No, they were at the door, and he was off on the side, and she yells at him while they're there.
Were they coming there they were coming there to tell her that he died?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually. I thought she just was like looking out the window, but you're right. They knock on the door to tell her.
Right. Interesting. Oh man, I love this movie so much. So there's a couple of fun. Well, at least one. There's one pretty cool thing that I noticed. I don't know what the significance is, or if it's just like a stylistic thing that that he did directing the movie. There's at least two scenes. I think there might have been one more, and I can't remember what it is. But the one scene when Aaron Eckhart knocks over the canister, and he's strapped to the chair, and his face is against the oil. And in the scene where the Joker is hanging upside down.
Yeah.
These are two scenes where the normal shot you would see the character on their side, but they rotate the shot, and the character's face is straight up. I think it's very interesting. I don't know why. I don't know if there's any sort of artistic significance to it or anything like that. I don't know about that, but it was just something that I noticed the last time I watched it. I was like, oh, that's funny.
I mean, it might be. I don't know if there's necessarily like anything symbolic to it, but I think I forgot. I haven't seen really, or not that I haven't seen it, but for some reason it doesn't stick with me 100%. The whole thing in the warehouse when he actually catches him. Like I feel like it hasn't resonated, like where I don't just like recall everything, but I totally remember what happens after that with Harvey and the kids. Yeah. So I forgot about them showing him right side up or whatever, but I do remember exactly what you're talking about when his face is on the ground, and then they show first him fall down, and they show where it looks like he's straight up and down, even though you clearly see he's leaning against the floor. And I think he's like part of it, like kind of like what you were leaning towards is just that it's a cool shot. Yeah. Kind of like, but I also wonder if it's either. I can't figure out which one it's which. I don't think it can be both. Whether it's trying to unsettle you. Or whether it's to try and give you a frame of reference, like, okay, like you're looking at him in the face, even though he's sideways.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or, or it could be one of those things where it's unsettling, like you're expecting to see him face down, but you're actually looking at him right in the eye.
For whatever reason, I find that I turn my head.
So maybe it is to unsettle you then.
Right, because he's supposed to be on his side right now, so I turn my head.
Same thing with, I mean, you're not going to do a handstand, but you know he's upside down because his hair is hanging, right?
Right.
But he's facing you straight up and down, so it is unsettling because it's breaking what, like, the convention, what you expect to see. His hair hanging, gross as it usually is, down to his shoulders, and instead it's standing straight up on end, essentially.
Yeah. And I guess, and along the lines of like making it unsettling, like if he's right side up, but things are so clearly still upside down, and the movie is not over yet. I wonder if that's anything. But it was just something I noticed last time I watched it. I was like, those are two really cool shots. I like them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I like jotted down a note about just kind of general cinematography stuff with this movie, like the quote unquote like Nolan style, because, and I'm sure there's people who are like actual like cinema students or whatever who would be able to do a much better job about that than me. But thinking about a movie, and I only saw it once, like, but thinking of a movie like Memento, I don't notice a lot of visual shots that are necessarily similar in this. You know, usually you'll kind of get like this is the idea, like the Scorsese, how many shots he does from a ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. I remember you sent me that video. It was like the supercut of like it was like a 10-minute video of all of his movies, all the shots that were from straight up above. Yep. It's like, fuck, he does a lot of those. Yeah. And it even gets to the point where like where I'm watching it, I'll be like, oh, obligatory ceiling shot.
Yeah.
But you do see some of it within the Batman movies, the trilogy, a lot of those bird's eye view or like super far panned out, like zoomed out, tracking shots around, like Batman standing on a ledge, Batman getting ready to jump across, you know, when he's in China, you know, Batman surveying the city, this and that. You get a lot of those shots, and that it always is got the Zimmer like sound that goes on, you know, that crescendo. Mm-hmm. It's like you said, it's not really music very often. It's a lot of times it's forgetting Sarah Marshall, dark, ominous tones. Oh no, the masturbating dog killer is struck again.
The owners are dead, but at least the dogs are happy. Yeah. I love it on that movie again, because I think we brought it up last episode. When he goes, Peter, anytime you're ready, and he's got that, they're like doing one of those scenes that he's about to record his music, and it's the Seinfeld theme that he plays. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, no. Well, he does a lot of those like full screen shots, or like something like he does. You know, there's a lot of shots that are done on like specifically for IMAX, where they do the large format, and
it's like the big panoramic tracking shots.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like you say that you don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I am able to spot a Nolan movie like in a second. And it actually happened recently when it was the first time I saw the Dunkirk trailer that I actually didn't know anything about. I didn't know it was in the making. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that too, where you said you watched the trailer for like 3 seconds. You're like, I think this is a Nolan movie.
Yeah, and then it's like, screen goes black. Christopher Nolan. I was like, oh, yep. There it is.
Well, there's also something I've noticed, and this is only with certain directors I've noticed this, and I just don't have the vocabulary to describe it, but... And again, this doesn't apply to Memento because part of it's black and white, and it's also one of the few movies of his that takes place a lot of during the day. But I notice it with... There's a particular way that like the lighting and the shadows are in specifically Inception and the 3 Batman movies.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Interstellar yet still.
Everything is dark and gritty.
Yes. It's not the same, but to a certain extent, it's similar to the way that David Fincher movies are. Mm-hmm. Like, in the same way that you said with Nolan, if you just turned on something, I'll be like, oh, David Fincher made this.
Right.
The lighting is always exactly the same unless they're out in broad daylight. Anytime anyone's in a room, it's like, oh, this is Fincher. Like, I'm watching House of Cards, and it's like, so instead of seeing it for 2 hours, I'm seeing it for 13. But everything, like, the lighting was... And the same thing, Michael Bay has that weird, like... Is it overexposed, I guess, kind of lighting a lot of times, like where everything is like really
saturated,
sharply contrasted. What did you say?
It's like saturated.
Yeah, it's like you get like sharp contrasts, and some of the hues and colors are weird. Like certain colors stand out, really pop, and other ones are more like muted.
I think I might have somebody that I could bring on the show to talk with us about this stuff.
I know I brought up the Bay thing to you once in the past because like Armageddon, The Island, the Transformer movies, like the lighting and coloration is always exactly the same, and also everyone's always sweaty and it has grease and grime on their face.
Right.
Like everyone is dirty all the time in those movies.
Yeah. 100%.
But it's like that over like exposed look. Like it's like, you know that feeling you get if you're like when you just realize you're too drunk and everything's like a little too bright because your eyes are dilated.
Okay.
Like that's what all of his movies look like.
Right.
Like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yeah, but it is funny. It's very cool to, especially if you start to really get into specific directors and like when you're watching them and you notice that like, oh, like I love that I can call out a Nolan movie. Like I love that, like, because I love his movies. And it's just like when I see it, I'm like, oh, so exciting. You know,
I don't love that I can call out Michael Bay movies.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
I'll be fair though, even though it's like
I don't love that I'm in that boat with you.
Over the top, like I genuinely enjoy Armageddon.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, The Island is actually a really good movie. And if anyone tells you otherwise, gently slap them or something.
I've seen it once a long time ago. I don't remember disliking it, but I don't remember like loving it or anything like that.
I didn't get to see it until a couple years ago. It came out a little over 10 years ago, I think. Mm-hmm. I really like that movie. I think he accidentally made a good movie. Like, not that it was like enjoyable, that like it's actually like I believe it's a quality movie.
Yeah. There's on the same topic of like the way that they shoot things, like Christopher Nolan is like, you know, the constant use of Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer. And like certain actors, it just sets it's just like this perfect like line through all of his movies. Like there's so much that is very similar between them. And the choice of Hans Zimmer for the music is just, it's just perfection. I listen to those. I listen to the tracks for these movies like while I'm working because I find them to be fantastic.
Yeah, I know we talked about it with the 40th anniversary episode for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where Zimmer almost becomes a character, the way that John Williams is almost his own character in the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's very cool. I love it.
Yeah, and I guess even though if you're gonna have like an actual composer doing like a score and stuff like that, I like more. I don't know if I want necessarily more substance, but like I like having actual like themes and songs. But Zimmer does work perfectly, even though it is just the dark, ominous tones or the big crescendoing tones. I think it fits everything there. So like what you're saying, he does do a really good job for what, like it fits really well.
Well, no, that's his. I mean, his style is not just that. Like that usually is starting off a track or ending or something in the middle. It's just like it's just a piece of it to accent something that's going on screen. But there's legitimate songs in his movies that are just.
Well, yeah, like Inception. There's definitely real music in it.
Right, and Interstellar, even Batman. There are songs in there that are just they're really well done. But like I think Interstellar is the one that I'll listen to that soundtrack over and over again. It's beautiful.
No, unfortunately, I don't have a reference point for that. I know eventually you said I've kind of almost been holding off watching it. I think it's just
we have to watch it together.
I know you said that. So I guess we'll have to find out time to do that. I know you said you wanted to watch it on the screen at my house.
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to hear that beautiful music on the surround sound.
On that giant wall.
Yeah, on the giant wall, which I'm half watching over the computer.
Oh man. Well, I think we've proven it. This movie is fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, so there's one other like kind of note that I have here. If you want to talk about it or not, it's up to you.
Hit me.
But it's kind of right along with what you just said. like kind of the specifics of why this movie works. Specifically, like, I really enjoy Batman Begins, and I like The Dark Knight Rises, but this movie, even though it's very much part of this universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
grounded.
really stands alone.
Yeah, it does.
So, do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, for sure. When you say this stands alone, you mean it stands alone from the other two in the trilogy?
Both that and from other superhero movies in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, these three movies stand apart from everything else that's being done in the space for sure. There's as crazy and over the top as certain aspects of it are, it is semi-realistic.
Well, that's a big thing for me. That's one of the kind of mini points I put down here. Just how grounded the movie is definitely to its credit, because with Marvel and also now with the extended universe in DC, they're really leaning into and embracing the unnatural, the cosmic, all that sort of stuff. Which, when you get to including Batman and Wonder Woman, is you don't have a choice, right?
Right.
Whereas this one, you don't have a Mr. Freeze or a Poison Ivy. The most unrealistic of them is Bane, and even in that, they watered Bane down way more than what it was in the Schumacher, where he's on steroids in his eyeballs. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I think definitely the idea of how grounded it is one of the reasons that you can kind of go there, because I think it's in the same vein. If you want to look at the Marvel ones, the only one that's kind of in that same light, to my mind, was kind of Ant-Man. Okay. Where the suits themselves were kind of funky, but they're still not as over the top as like Iron Man is. Mm-hmm. At least in my mind. I guess you can agree or disagree with that. But that movie, until you include him in Civil War, Ant-Man, that story is pretty grounded. It's just a guy, and he has a cool suit, but, everything is kind of scaled, right? Because when he's tiny, he's fighting normal-sized people, or he's fighting another tiny person. Right. And he doesn't do the gigantic thing, right? Right. So, and that was one of the reasons that movie works so well. And also, the whole idea of, like, that they're both heist movies. Mm-hmm. And we see two different, like, sides of that same coin, right? Because in Ant-Man you have them doing the heists, and in Batman or in The Dark Knight you have him stopping the heists. Mm-hmm. Either way, they're both like heist movies for at least the majority of the run. With The Dark Knight is heist movies. Right? It changes in the final third.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely part of it. Like it. I think because they used these same characters that they're just similar in name only, and obviously, and there's some character traits. They're not over the top like they are in the comic books in the Nolan trilogy. I mean, the closest thing to being over the top is obviously, like you mentioned, is Bane, but he's not. He's still not. Like they do something there. They make it so that it's like,
oh yeah, he's still
improbable, not impossible. Yeah. But and it does the realism there it definitely makes it unique to these other comic book movies. And then I actually think that it's very possible that is part of the reason why the other, like, Man of Steel was okay. It wasn't great by any means, and obviously the stuff that followed was until Wonder Woman came out. But I feel like with Man of Steel, it's like they tried to, okay, let's put Superman in a world like the one from the Nolan trilogy. And it's like, no, it doesn't hold up. It's not, you can't do that. It's not, well, it's not going to work. The problem is,
like, it was just Nolan-esque. It wasn't Nolan doing it.
Right, but I don't think Nolan would have done it.
That's also probably true.
I know he was involved. Huh? I know he was involved.
Yeah, although I really question how much, because I don't feel any Nolan influence. It feels like... Except
he got Hans on there.
Well, he got Hans on there, and I guess maybe kind of the...
Hans! That's all I can think of when I hear his name.
I mean, I guess maybe kind of the stoicism and kind of the solemn tone. Although you get a lot of that even with 300, so I mean, it's not even like you can say that's not something that Snyder would do. But that's a Zack Snyder movie that is taking itself more seriously, because that's why 300 works with the Snyder style, is because it doesn't take itself seriously. Mm-hmm. It knows it's ridiculous, and by leaning into it, that makes the movie work. This movie wants to be taken seriously and takes itself seriously, but I don't think Snyder can actually pull that off.
Yeah. God, it's a miracle of how well they pulled off Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
With where everything has gone.
Yeah.
How did we stray so far from this movie?
I mean, we're kind of within the same area code. But the kind of the final thought that I had on why The Dark Knight stands apart from its own trilogy is kind of in, I guess they're kind of two different points that are like closely linked together. It's the race against time aspect. Mm-hmm. You get like a little taste of it at the end of each of those other movies, whereas this one always feels like it's building ahead of steam, and then you finally say go and you go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that it's paced so well. There are major pacing issues with The Dark Knight Rises. Oh, yeah. And there are not, I wouldn't say major, but noticeable pacing issues with Batman Begins.
Right. The pacing with the Dark Knight is you're on the edge of your seat the entire goddamn time, and you feel like you're gonna have a heart attack because there's just too much. It's too much.
Like they do a decent job of within a scene speeding up or slowing down what's going on, but you're left with a constant flow of tension. You know, they may adjust a little bit down here, a little bit up there, but you're always got that tension. Like you said, you're hanging on the edge of your seat. So there's a consistency that's driving you towards the end, but still allowing you to slow down a little bit for a scene where Bruce is going to just talk to Rachel quietly, or talk to Alfred quietly, or aggressive, where you get that as you're watching the video of the Joker about to murder the shit out of this innocent dude.
Mm-hmm. That music, that sound.
Right?
That's at the beginning. That's how the opening rises so well.
And then it goes whoomp as it shows the logo and goes into the screen, right?
Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh man, I love it, and you should love it too. Listeners,
oh, definitely.
Listeners, we love it. You should love it too. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this sucker up?
No, that's pretty much it. I think we got all that I wanted to talk about.
All right, cool. Yeah, we pretty much hit everything for me as well. So that's it for this week's Flix in the Six. We're a little bit late this week. This one's coming out probably Tuesday morning. But you know, it's here. You know because you're listening. So enjoy. So check out spinchoon.com to catch a new episode every Monday or Tuesday, and a new article every Thursday. If you want to keep the conversation going, you could reach us at The Spinchoon on Twitter and Facebook, or email thespinchoon@gmail.com. That's THESPINCHOON @gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in.